Welcome to the Money Savvy Parents Podcast, the podcast for parents to gain financial education to then pass on through the generations. I am your host, Laura, mother to 3 beautiful children and founder of a financial coaching business, Savvy Peacocks. Let's remove the taboo from money together. Hello and welcome back to my podcast. Today we're going to explore the interesting topic of savings and the options that are available. So let's delve straight in and take a question from the audience.
Hi Laura, I'd really love to know the difference between a junior ISA and a kids savings account, and if there's one that you'd recommend over the other. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for that question. And I think whilst we're on this topic of savings accounts for children, which is your question, we'll also explore a few other savings options that are available to us as adults as well, and just review back over our different money pots that I've talked about in previous episodes. So first of all, you've asked the difference between a junior ISA and a children's savings account. Now, I'm going to just explain to you the difference between them, but if I'm completely honest, you'll hear as I talk that there isn't a huge amount of difference. And the reason that there isn't a huge amount of difference is really ISAs overall, when they're held in cash, particularly for children actually, only really come into play if you want to start investing the money. So if you hold your money in a cash ISA, then what that means is that any gain you get from it or the interest you get from it is going to be tax-free. Now, any money that your children hold in their name is going to be tax-free anyway because they're a non-taxpayer. So really, the benefit of holding it in an ISA only really comes if you're going to look at investing that money long term and wrapping that money, what they call an ISA wrapper, so wrapping it up into an ISA, and therefore the greater benefit you can get into an investment from an investment will then provide you with much more benefit because you're going to get much more gain and much more interest back on that kind of product. So in relation to ISAs, everybody is entitled to a certain amount of interest from savings per year that they can earn tax-free. So for children, it's a maximum of $9,000, and for adults, that's $20,000 per tax year that you can put into an ISA. Okay, and then the interest that you earn from that product will be tax-free. So this is the same as holding cash in any kind of other instant access savings account. It works exactly the same. You can access it instantly, but what you can't do is put the money back in. So give you an example. If you put £9,000 into an ISA this tax year, and then you need to take $2,000 out, then you can get that out instantly. So that's the benefit of doing a cash ISA over an investment ISA. You can get it out instantly, but you can't then put that extra $2,000 back in because you've already put the maximum amount of $9,000 this tax year. So what you need to remember is not only how much you can put in, but also the fact that you can't then re-put it back in. So ultimately, this is the kind of money that you only access in an absolute emergency, because once you've taken it out, you can't then put it back in until the following tax year. So quite often people feel like they don't want to miss out on having this tax-free allowance. But as I've already said, in cash, it doesn't really make a huge amount of difference because the amount of interest you're probably going to get is pence, if not pounds. Obviously, if you put religiously £20,000 into an ISA every year, then of course over time that's going to build up. But it's still not really a huge amount of savings from a tax perspective. So that's how an ISA works and what that looks like. Okay. And then in comparison to that with children, your options are, there's a few options available to you. So you can hold a savings account in your name with your child as the beneficiary. And in this instance, again, it's tax-free because you've got your child as the beneficiary because they're the non-taxpayer. But most banks have a cap on the amount of money that you can put into an account such as this, because it is an account in your name with them as a beneficiary. So most banks offer this kind of facility, and you can put normally around 2,500, 3,000 at any one time into that type of savings account in your name tax-free. So if you do have children and you've got savings that you want to tuck away, putting it in that type of account with them as a beneficiary will be a way for you to be earning interest tax-free. But don't forget, going back to my original point, this isn't going to be a huge amount of savings. So from there, we can now start exploring the different types of accounts that your child can have. So it's very typical with most banks that children would have accounts just in their parents' name, maybe with them as a beneficiary until age 7. And then from age 7, they would have just a savings account in their name where they could run it themselves, and it'd be the same as your instant access savings account. It's an account for them to pay money into. They wouldn't have a card or anything. It would just be accessed by going into the bank. So typically it's a place to store your sort of medium term savings where they might be saving up for something. So if they had a gift of cash for their birthday, they'd save some of the cash to spend now. They'd put some of it into an account like this, like a savings account that has limited access because it doesn't have a card or anything. And then obviously the third pot is they can put something into a longer term place. And then from age 10 or 11 is really where things start to get interesting, because children can have their own bank account. So at this stage, alongside that savings account they've already got, they'd have a bank account which would have a debit card from that age. And that means then that savings account is a lot more accessible. So at this point, you might want to set them up with 2 savings accounts, or position it as your bank account is your I'm going to buy this now, and then your savings account is I'm saving up for something in the future. And what's really lovely about this is that this will then be their bank account for life. So if you're savvy enough and you set this up for your children, then potentially they could have a banking relationship with a high street bank from age 10 or 11, and that could be their same sort code and account number and their same banking relationship for the rest of their life if they want to. So actually, I think this is a great gift that you can give your children, to be affiliated with a reputable high street bank from a young age. There are some banks that then deem that as a loyal customer that they might want to offer preferential interest rates to, whether that be on mortgages and savings in the future. And of course, it's a really great way to be able to educate and teach your children about the different money pots, as I've just explained there, and helping them set up for their future. So as I've already said previously, when you're talking to children about money pots, in the short term, until they're getting to sort of the teenage years, you're talking to them about 3 places: spend now, save for something for the next 6 to 12 months, and then putting some money aside for the longer term for as they go into adulthood, and getting them excited about wanting to buy their first car, go traveling, whatever it is that they're interested in. And then as adults, we can also take this as an opportunity to review where we're holding our own money. So I think that explains the difference between an ISA and a children's savings account and the benefits of them having their own bank account. But then you as an adult, in an ideal world, you're looking to set yourself up with different money pots so that you've got access to the money when you need it. And I just want to refer back to my previous episode around zero-based spending planner, because that's where you're going to decide where you put your savings, what goals you work towards. So in an ideal world, what you're looking for is an emergency fund of money, which is an amount of money that will pay for unexpected expenses, things that you can't see that are going to be a problem now. So it's the elements when your washing machine breaks down unexpectedly, or your boiler has an issue, something that's completely unexpected that you'd not planned for. Maybe something historically that you would have just whacked on the credit card and thought about later. And typically most people hold between £1,000 and £2,000 in their emergency fund. Now, because you're likely to need instant access to this because it's an unexpected expense, then an ISA might be a good place to put that, because you don't envisage to need to touch it. But if you do need to touch it, you need to be able to get access to it fairly quickly. So an ISA might be a good place to hold your emergency fund. And then The second sort of money pot that I believe everybody needs is a 3 to 6 months expenses pot. So this is the minimum amount of money you need to live on if you don't have an income. So your essential bills and your food. So not all your direct debits and bills that you pay now, but your essential bills and an amount of money to be able to feed yourself. And a great place to hold this amount of money might be in something like premium bonds, because you can access it in less than a week, which will give you plenty of time. So let's say you're unfortunate enough to lose your job. You know you're going to have to lean on these expenses until you find a new job. So you're going to be able to access that money through premium bonds fairly quickly, but it doesn't need to be completely instant access like the emergency fund would be, because the chances are you're going to get some headway on that. And then from there, you're looking at setting money aside for different money goals, and where you place that money will depend on how long that goal is. So if it's a longer term goal, then you could maybe tie it up for a little bit longer, or if it's something that you're working towards for the next 6 to 12 months, then again, premium bonds are a great place to hold it, or ISAs. So you might want to think about, what money am I setting aside for car, for holidays, for children expenses, for house renovations, for garden work? Think about what your money goals are to help you decide what different pots of money you need. And at this stage, I do just want to make you all aware of a product that most people don't know about, actually, and it's not widely talked about. It's called a regular saver. And again, most banks do offer this. They might call it something different, but it's basically a savings option where you're committing to save on a monthly basis for 12 months. And then at the end of the 12 months, you get the whole lot back plus the interest you've earned. And a lot of the banks do offer slightly higher interest rate. I think there's some out there for 3, 4, 5%. So certainly much more than what you'd get on an ISA or an instant access savings account. But what's really great about this is it gives you a commitment to a set money goal. So this is a great place to put, for example, holiday savings. If you can tuck an amount of money away into a regular saver and plan it so that that matures before you need to be able to pay for your holiday, then you've got your holiday money there, or a proportion of money towards your holiday expenses. So look up with your bank and see what they offer around some kind of program where you can save money on a regular basis and get rewarded for doing so. So in summary, there are a few options available. So please go back over what your bank offers and what's available. Explore ISAs, the interest rates, regular savers, instant access savings accounts. Some of them offer online savings accounts. Don't get too caught up in all the titles and everything. Just think about, does this product do what I need it to do? And that's the same for the children's accounts as well. You know, don't get blindsided by ISA's the best way to go, because actually it's not a huge amount of difference in comparison to the other options we've talked around, with the beneficiary account in your name with them as a child, or their own accounts in their own name. So take this as an opportunity to review not only your children's savings, but your own savings as well, to ensure that you've got all your bases covered and your money's placed in the best place it can be. I think that answers your question. I hope you all have a brilliant day, and tune in next time where we're going to be discussing another exciting topic. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to Money Savvy Parents. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please subscribe and post your money questions within a review for future episodes. If you want to learn more, then please join my Money Savvy Parents Facebook group or club on Clubhouse. Let's remove the taboo from money together.